Welcome to the 5 questions you need to ask your prospect before you even think about meeting. I just want to start by thanking my sponsors, Ken Auty, who manages the Communication Arts LinkedIn group, which we all know, and Nathan Powell. He's a designer who founded Newsy, a proposal software that helps you be able to access your best proposal content easily, know if your client has seen the proposal, and tracks your closing success as well. So how great is that? It's newsy.com if you want to check it out later. So that's my little commercial. Now I'm ready to get started. I'm on the page, and I'll tell you about me in a few minutes. But first, I want to make sure you're in the right place, and this webinar is for you. You may be a design firm or agency owner with a staff. You've been in the business a long time and you're feeling the changes in the industry. The referrals aren't coming in the way they used to and sales are down. You may be a creative who's been working for a long time at different design firms and agencies, and you've decided to go out on your own. Getting business is tougher than you thought it would be. You really hate sales, and you've even bitten your lip and started cold calling. You leave lots of messages, but people don't return the calls, and you need some new ideas. Or maybe you're a freelancer working on your own, and you'd like to make more steady and recurring revenue. Or you may be the person in charge of bringing in business, and you're finding it a struggle. The owners tell you to keep making calls and getting them meetings, but it's really slow going, and most meetings aren't amounting to much. My intention in this webinar is to give you some new things to consider before you go racing out to meet with another potential client that isn't going to be a good fit for your business. And you can all relate to that racing out the door thing. I used to do it myself, and I'm going to tell you more about that in a minute. So here's the agenda for the webinar. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes telling you my story so that you have some context of where I'm coming from. And then we'll get into the 5 questions. I'll also spend a few minutes telling you how to take this further and work with me in the Business Development Breakthrough course, which we're starting on August 18th. If you want to just go there now and check it out, it's landthebusiness.com/program. But anyway, stick around because I got lots for you. Then I'm going to share another big strategy on how to really change things in your business toward the end. And I will also stick around and answer your questions. And Leslie's moderating the questions. So if you have questions as we're going, type them in and we'll answer them for you at the end. Now, I know many of you are in front of your computers, so I ask you to shut down Facebook and any other distractions and pay careful attention. You want to be very present for this. I'm going to share some very important concepts, and you're going to leave with new insights and tools that you can start to use immediately, and they're going to make a difference for your business. The people who are already using these tools, and I've taught it to many people already, it's really been game-changing for them in a big way. So with all the email kerfuffle and ID problems, I hope you got the handout. If you didn't, don't worry. It's attached in the reminder emails. You can grab it after, but just grab a piece of paper and take some notes. So, about me. Here I am. I'm a graphic designer at heart. I studied design at Parsons in New York, and my first mentor was the world-renowned April Greiman. There she is in Los Angeles, and we're still friends. That was a really long time ago. I've worked every aspect of the design business: designer, creative director, account director, and brand strategist, and I did business development for all the firms I worked at. My experience in sales and getting new business began at the age of 12. when I won the Girl Scout cookie selling competition by selling 80 boxes to my grandmother. Even then, I knew how to identify and close my perfect customer. At the ripe age of 26, I started my own design firm with a partner. We lasted 4 years till I had my first child, and I decided I couldn't do it all and be a mom too. So I sent out letters, and I'm dating myself because this is when you sent out letters to people, to a number of firms, and told them that I had my own business but was ready for a new opportunity. And I was hired by Ove Design in Toronto. The owner, Michel Viau, who was also still a friend, said I could do business development and creative direction for him. I said, sure. After all, he offered me a hefty $25,000 base salary plus commission, which seemed attractive after having had my own firm for 4 years. I'll tell you a little secret. I actually had no idea what he meant by business development. He gave me his mailing list of about 800 names and told me to get some business. I called them all and landed a few clients. Then I started to land more clients, and this was business development. I got good at it. I brought over $1 million in new business to the firm in my best year. At one point, I was told to stop selling because they couldn't keep up with the growth. I've helped land hundreds of thousands of dollars in new business for many design firms and agencies. I've landed big CPG companies like Kraft and Coca-Cola. I've landed many annual reports back in the day, large identity projects, and have a list of Fortune 500 companies I've worked with. I've also done 2 stints on the client side as a marketing director. So fast forward to 2008, I was working at Dossier Creative in Vancouver. Great firm, love them. I was working on great projects, doing brand strategy and facilitating branding workshops. Things were going great till the economy began to decline. They asked me to move to half-time, and this really stressed me out, both financially, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do with the other half of my time. Once I kind of calmed down and got grounded about this, I thought of all the people who had small businesses who had been coming to me for help over the years. They wanted me to teach them what I knew from big business. And I decided at that moment that it was time to start a business focused on helping small businesses grow by differentiating. And guess what? I called it Know Your Difference. Well, as soon as I put the word out, I got super busy. I had clients coming out of the woodwork. It was really exciting as I saw the need for my services, but I had no clue what to charge people. I knew that small businesses didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't want to charge too much, which was kind of a mistake. And I started charging $800 to take them through my 6-step process over 6 weeks. Well, no wonder I had a lot of clients. I was meeting with them all in person weekly, spending a ton of time prepping and doing all this homework for them. In the end, I was burning myself out. I must have had 50 clients the first year, and I was making very small amount of money. It just wasn't working. I was giving tremendous value to others, and this was really important. I'll say it again. I was giving tremendous value to others while shortchanging myself. So let me ask you this. Where are you giving tremendous value to others while shortchanging yourself? And I want you to just, see what comes up for you as I say that, and jot down a couple of notes, because this is really important. And I especially find with the freelancers, they're often giving tremendous value while shortchanging themselves. So what happened next was I came up with a range of offers starting at $800 and going up to $15,000. So people could come in at different levels, and the more they got of me, the more they paid. I started to get some bigger projects, and I got busy making money. Once I changed my business model, I got a client, Diane, who spent $25,000 on my services, and she doubled her sales from 600,000 to 1.2 million within the first year of working with me. And this is important too, and I'm going to talk more about this in a few minutes when I talk about the 5 questions. But start being able to tell these kind of stories about the success of your clients. And I know this isn't really done in the agency world that much, but it's something to start thinking about. I've also had experience on the client side. And for 3 years, I worked with my significant other to restructure and reposition his food company. I worked on staffing, human resources, funding, operations, sales, and marketing. I even started a catering division, and within a month, I had orders from several large law firms. So now I warn people, if they put me on business development, they're gonna get business, so they better be ready for it. My experience working in business has given me a really good understanding of what it takes to be successful in business, which is something that many creative people don't understand. My client side experience has also given me a lot of insights about how clients think, because in many situations, I was the one hiring the agency, the design firm, the marketing people. So that's my story. And now I want to get to the 5 questions, what you've been waiting for. What I'm going to talk about will transform your business and boost your confidence. The people I've taught this to are using the strategies every day, and it's making a huge difference. You're going to start saving a lot of time and energy on running around to meetings and writing proposals. I'm going to tell you a lot in this webinar, as much as I can, and at the end, as I said before, I'm going to tell you how to join the Business Development Breakthrough Program if it makes sense for you. And if it doesn't make sense for you, that's fine too. You're going to get a ton of insights just being on this webinar. So if you want a little sneak peek at that, it's landthebusiness.com/program. So here we go. I know so well, working away at my desk, and then I get the call from that prospect. And all I want to do is set up a meeting. Well, that was all I used to want to do. So tell me if you can relate to this. You meet with the prospect, show samples of your work, and they ask for a proposal. Then you spend hours on the proposal, and then you wait. Sometimes you submit your proposal and don't hear back from them. So you follow up and still get no call back. So finally you find out we decided to work with another firm, or the budget wasn't approved, or the project has been put on hold, or we're doing it in-house. I bet many of you are nodding your heads that you can relate to this. So to avoid all this heartache, I'm going to give you my 5 questions to ask, and it's before you even think about setting up that first meeting. So like capitalize think, because that's so important. Like don't do it without using the 5 questions. I also want to talk about bringing a new kind of energy to business development. When I first learned about it in the early 90s, it was very different. The energy was a lot more, I guess I would say, adversarial. It was like me on one side and them on the other side. Now I look at it as more of a partnership. And this is a real shift probably for many of you. I'm partnering with the other person to help them achieve a particular goal or solve a problem. When I started in sales, the goal was to get them to work with our firm no matter what. Now my goal is to see if we're a match to work together. It's more about alignment. When I started in sales, I did all the talking about how great our firm is and showing slides back in the day when we used to like bring our slide projector of all the beautiful work we did and all our wonderful credentials. Now I do all the listening. So you're going about your day and you get a call from that person you met at a networking event, and here's often how it goes. Hi, Rhonda. This is Sally Smith from ABC Company. We'd like to get a quote for some branding work. In the past, I'd say, okay, when would you like to meet? Then I'd drag the owner of my firm 45 minutes to an hour in traffic and parking, have a 90-minute meeting, and by the time we get back to the office, it was a half-day affair. And I'm going to tell you a really funny story about that in a couple of minutes. The good news was they asked for a proposal, or was it good news? I now handle the same call very differently. My goal is to make a connection, have a meaningful conversation, help them achieve their goal, and see if we're aligned to work together on this project. So I let go of any attachment to getting the work. This takes a tremendous amount of stress off me, and I think it changes the whole conversation as well. So going back to that conversation when I get that call, Sally has called me and she said she'd like to get a quote on some branding work. This statement leaves many holes to be filled in. I don't know who she is. I don't know what her position is in the company. I don't know if she's an admin assistant collecting information, or she could be the CEO for all I know, or a VP of marketing. So I'm going to have a conversation and ask a series of powerful questions that will reveal all sorts of information. And the bonus is it's going to give her clarity on what she's looking for. Because often they're not 100% clear on what they're looking for. And here's another thing to keep in mind. I'm at the point that I no longer have a game face. I'm really comfortable in my own shoes, and I can be very real and human with the other person. This is huge, and it takes work to get to this point, but it also completely changes the energy of the relationship. What I mean by game face, it's kind of that act that we put on to seem professional or confident or like we know what we're talking about, or to be perceived in a certain way. When I started that catering company I told you about, I had no experience in catering, but I knew that I had an incredible chef and team of sous chefs. So I literally called up law firms. I told them I hadn't done this before, and could I ask them a few questions? And guess what? They answered my questions and then placed a catering order. People really appreciate real. They really appreciate when you're like really real with them. There's no pretense or show with me, and this makes for even stronger connections. I'm telling you, this totally changes the whole sales process. So here's how I would respond to Sally now. Sally, I'm so glad you called. There's some things I'd like to know about the project, and then let's see if we want to meet and talk further. So, question 1, how did this project come about? What prompted this project? You're asking them for the story behind the project, how they got to where they are now. What are the series of events that led up to the project? How did the decision come about to do this project? You want the inside scoop. You may hear how another firm completely screwed up their website. They've used up most of their budget and they're seeing if your firm can save it. Or a whole other variety of stories of how the project happened and what's gone on and how they got to you. You need to know what you're dealing with and then make a decision whether to take it further from an informed place. So you want to find this out after you've gone to 2 meetings and spent 30 hours on your proposal? I don't think so. Question 2, who are all the people that need to say yes to go forward with this? In other words, who are the decision makers? You want to know what Sally's role is in the project. Is she an admin assistant or is she VP of marketing? Find out who the decision makers are and push to meet with the group. Sometimes it's not possible, I know you're thinking that. But you want to know who they are, and more importantly, you want to know that they're in the loop on the project. I've gone way down this path and found out at the 11th hour it wasn't approved by a decision maker. So don't be afraid to ask lots of questions until you're confident that it's a good fit. Do a gut check here. And you're going to know what I'm talking about here. Your gut may be screaming, walk away from this one. And you often don't listen to that. You really want the work. So really tune into your intuition, and that's a big one. And I'm sure you all know times when you were getting that gut feeling to walk away and didn't listen, and then it turned out to be a mistake. Question 3. This is a big one. And you're right away thinking, they're not going to answer that. Can you give me an idea of your budget? Gulp. So most of you find this a very hard question to ask. And prospects often won't answer it or will say they're not sure. But the beauty of asking this is it prompts more discussion. So they may say, well, I don't know, what would you charge? So, golden opportunity. You can give them a big ballpark range. For example, you're looking at anywhere between 10 and 25,000 for the kind of work you're talking about. Now, here's the hard part. Just be quiet and wait for a reaction. This can seem like torture, but it can save you hundreds of wasted hours. So like the silence is a real killer, but if you can just sit and wait for an answer, because the answer is going to be gold for you. And I've had this happen many times. They may say, okay, sounds great. Or they may say, like you sense the awkwardness. That wasn't really what we had in mind. We were thinking more like 2,500. And guess what? You know immediately that you're not aligned to work together. How great would it be to have this information up front before you go to a meeting or spend time on a proposal? And don't be afraid, again, to ask that budget question, because sometimes they'll just give you the budget, and then that's beautiful. Then you know what you've got to work with. I was on a call a year ago where I just said, can you give me an idea of budget? And they said, yeah, 30,000. And I mean, that doesn't happen often, but it did happen. So keep that door open for yourself as well. Now, whatever you do, do not panic for the work and say, okay, I guess we can do something for 2,500. You might say something like, Sally, I really don't think we're well aligned to work together. I'd be happy to refer you to someone who can do a good job and within your budget. Remember, it's about being a good match. So question 4, assuming you get past question 3 and things are looking good, how serious are you about moving forward? Another key question. The response might be, we're committed to launching the new brand in the next quarter, so we're very serious about moving this forward as soon as possible. We'd like to make a decision in the next 4 weeks. Or you may hear something like, I'm not really sure. My boss asked me to get some quotes. So which one would you spend an hour in traffic to meet with? You get an answer like the second one, ask more questions. This may feel uncomfortable for you, but you're actually, as I said before, helping them get clarity. You're helping them get what they need to do a better job and solve a problem. Keep asking questions till you're really clear on what's going on. You may even ask them to find out more information and get back to you before you make the decision whether you want to meet them or not. Look, Sally, I'd really like to help you get some clarity on this project. From what I'm hearing, I'm not clear on your objectives or timeline. Can we reconnect in a day or two when you have more information? Again, don't be attached to the outcome here. You want to feel confident that you're helping them and that you're aligned for the work. Set up another call. Make them accountable to you, and you're actually already helping them. And here's question 5. This is also an interesting one. Who else are you talking to? And right now you're thinking, oh, they never answer that. So I will say that often they don't answer that. Sometimes this gives you a lot of information. The key here is to find out how many they're talking to. The standard, from my experience, is 3 firms in total. If they say they're talking to 8 firms or 12 firms or 15 firms and then narrowing it down, that would be a big red flag for me. I don't think they'd be a good client to work with. They may need to see 25, 30 options before they can make a decision. There's a lot of reading between the lines here, and you need to really put on your intuition hat to make a decision. So I hope you start using these 5 questions right away. They may feel a little bit awkward at first, but it becomes part of your vernacular after a while. You just get used to it, and it becomes just your way of being and doing business, and then it's really comfortable. And as I said, the people using them are really experiencing a lot of success. And remember to do more listening than talking. I don't want you giving your mini credentials presentation and talking about how many awards your firm won. I want you to have real and meaningful discussions. And when you're talking, it's about how you solved a similar problem for someone else and what the results for them were. Just like the story I told about Diane earlier. When my client Karen launched her new identity, she doubled her sales in the first year because people understood what she does and how she's different. So this is a really different way of doing new business. You want all the facts before you meet. You may feel your stomach starting to churn when that first call goes south or goes in a direction that you don't want it to go, because you know in your gut that you need to take a pass and it's not going to work out. But taking a pass is not a bad thing. I talk a lot about this in the Business Development Breakthrough course. Taking a pass leaves open space energetically for the right work to come your way. If you're busy with energy draining, bad paying clients, there's no space for the good ones. I've had direct experience with this. A few years ago, I passed on a $5,000 project. I knew it was more like $20,000 worth of work. I felt it would be really energy draining. It was a bit gut-wrenching the first time I did it, but I did it, and guess what? A week later, I got a $25,000 project that was perfect for me. So, and I've seen that happen many times, and many times for my clients. So, key takeaways, things to remember here. Bring a new kind of energy to the sales process. Remember, it's not adversarial. It's not you against them. You're looking for fit. Be real with people. Just take that game face and all that pretense off. You don't know everything. You're just a normal person, just like everybody else. And just be real with people. Practice the 5 questions. And as I said, they might be uncomfortable at first. You know, I tell people to put it on a sign right by your desk, because you never know when that call is going to come in, and you want to remember to use them. Sometimes if a client calls me and they're saying they're having a big problem in the proposal process, I'll say to them, did you use the 5 questions? And they usually say, actually, no. And it kind of got off on the wrong foot. I've got a really funny story for you that relates to all this. 2 weeks ago, I ran into Michelle, the owner of Ove Design. You remember that first firm that I told you about that I did business development for when I started out? We ended up having a drink, and he started to reminisce about all the funny experiences we had when we worked together. He even said, and this was a long time ago. He completely remembered. He even said, remember all those terrible meetings you dragged me to? The ones in way out remote places? I once dragged him to a meeting that was way out of town, and it was in this like industrial complex in a unit. And it was like the weirdest thing. There was a screen door on the unit as if it was somebody's house. It was like this rinky-dink company in the middle of nowhere. And of course, there was no project there. It took about 4 hours by the time we got back to the office. And he said, "Don't ever take me to a unit again. I want to go to downtown office buildings." So it was so funny because we were talking 2 weeks ago and he said, "Remember when you used to take me to those units?" And we both started to laugh. And I said, "Do I ever remember?" I tell a lot of people about that now. After a while, I got the hang out of it. I got downtown office building meetings for him with bigger companies, and we had some great work. So I hope that what I've given here will make a big difference in your business. And I said, put a sign on your wall that says, "Remember the 5 questions." There's lots of other pieces to the business development puzzle. Like, how do you fill the pipeline? How do you get prospects calling you in the first place? Cold calling certainly doesn't work anymore. So what do you do? How do you handle meetings? If you decide it might be a fit for you and you go to the meeting, what do you say at the meeting? I'll tell you this, I'm not a fan of showing work unless it's extremely relevant to the client's problem. And another thing, the objective of a meeting is not to get to write a proposal. Meetings have to be handled in a very different way today. Then there's the proposal process. How do you spend less time on proposals? Because most of you are spending a horrendous amount of time on proposals. And how do you get more work from the clients you already have? It's so hard to get new clients. You want to really grow the relationships that you have and become a strategic partner, become their trusted advisor, and get more work from all the clients you have. These are all things that I'm going to teach you how to do in the Business Development Breakthrough course, starting August 18th. And I'm going to take a couple minutes to talk about this, and then I've got another game-changing strategy for you. And we'll get all your questions answered as well. So this is how it describes getting new business. I know it's been a tough slog getting new business, and the Business Development Breakthrough will definitely make it easier for you. The course is helping creative professionals, design firms, agency people, PR people all over the world get better clients and longer term clients. The first thing we're going to do is get you clear on your ideal client. It may be in a particular industry sector, or it may just be a particular position or type of person within a company. For example, I have one client who works exclusively with boutique hotels. When I met them, 90% of their work was with boutique hotels. I suggested they make this their audience. They did, and it worked. Now boutique hotels are calling them. Now you're probably thinking there may not be an industry sector for you, but there may be a specific position within a company, like CEOs, for example, that you want to target. After doing the exercises in Module 1, you'll have clarity on this. And here's why it's so important. If you're talking to everyone, there may not be anyone listening, and you may just be part of a noise. And I'm going to have Leslie talk about that in a few minutes. I'm not saying you have to specialize, but the beauty of being clear on your audience is that they're going to know you're talking to them. They'll get it, they'll get excited, and they'll take action. And this will help you stand out from the noise. The specialization is definitely a natural for some people, but for some it's not. But don't worry, we're going to work it out. Another thing that we'll do in Module 1 is finding out the marketing messages that will truly resonate with your audience. I'm going to teach you how to do stakeholder interviews, which is something I've been doing for 15 years. You'll get the format, the script, the questions to ask your key stakeholders. Going back to the boutique hotel example, my clients found out in their stakeholder interviews that the biggest challenge for boutique hotels is keeping their rooms filled. Now they talk about keeping rooms filled in all their marketing messages, and it really works for them. In Module 2, you're going to learn strategies to connect without cold calling. You're going to start to market your business and get prospects coming to you and calling you. When I started doing business development back in 1993, cold calling really worked. People answered the phone. Today they don't. Many, as you know, don't even use their office phones, and they do everything on their smartphone, and how do you get those numbers? Even in 2007, cold emailing worked. Now that doesn't work anymore either. There are so many great opportunities for marketing today without spending a lot of money. We'll look at different options and decide what's right for you. Marketing is not a one-size-fits-all. We need to look at what you can manage and what you're going to enjoy doing. So you're not going to be doing any more cold calling. And even better, we're going to get them calling you. And then, of course, you'll use the 5 questions. So you're getting all these calls and using the 5 questions to see which ones might be a fit. Module 3 will give you the script to use at the meeting. So as I said before, going to a meeting and showing your portfolio doesn't work anymore. I'm going to give you my meeting success script. It walks you through the steps. First ask this, then say this. And when they say, can you give me a proposal? You're not going to say okay and leave. You're going to ask even more questions. And even better, they're going to help you write the proposal. How does that sound? How does it get any better than that? You'll spend way less time and increase your chances of winning the work by a lot. My client, Katie Osborne, was winning 35% of proposals when she started the program. Now she's winning 60%. And I'm going to tell you more about her in a minute. So you're going to spend way less time on proposals. You're going to learn how to do it in Module 3. Module 4, you're going to learn how to deepen your client relationships so you get more work from the clients you already have, and you become a strategic partner rather than a supplier. I'll teach you how clients think so you can really help and support them, and they're going to grow to depend on you. This will translate into ongoing long-term relationships that translates into steady cash flow. The course is 4 months, and by the end, you'll have a new way to get and sustain business that's less stressful, less time-consuming, more lucrative, and more fun. The simple truth is, most businesses need to reinvent themselves now and do things a lot differently to be successful in today's market. The course combines 8 group training sessions of 90 minutes each, 4 online learning modules, and membership to a private Facebook community. The trainings are by video conference every 2 weeks. And as I said, there's 8 sessions of 90 minutes in total. These will keep you motivated and get your problem solved. You'll get to know others in the group and have a good sounding board for ideas and support. You'll have the opportunity to send me your questions before each call, and we'll spend up to 10 minutes brainstorming ideas just for your business. One client, Taylor Martin, said it's like having your own personal advisory board. Now, I can just predict what's going through your mind. I don't have time for 8 sessions of 90 minutes each, but I'd like to reframe this for you, and this is something that's so important whether you do or don't do the course. I'm going to tell you this now. If you want to grow your business, you need to dedicate time weekly to new business development. I want you, right after this webinar, to block off one morning or one afternoon a week in your calendar to devote to new business activities and start building this into your routine. You need time to work on your business. You need to take time for planning and growth. So the beauty of this is for the next 4 months, if you're in the course, you're going to be forced to devote 90 minutes every 2 weeks to new business time. And really, it's the only way to make it work. So I just want to call on Leslie. I'm going to keep the slides going so we won't see you on video. But I just wanted to ask Leslie a couple of questions here because she's got a good take on all this.
Hi, everyone.
You're there? Okay, great. So tell everybody when you started your business.
When my mat leave finished, so I had a 1-year-old baby at home, and I decided to take my career in a different direction and started my own freelance graphic design business. And that was in October.
Just this last October. So you had a 1-year-old. So
yes.
You're pretty busy, right?
I was pretty busy.
So tell us what happened when you first started.
So when I first started my business, I thought that if I offered everything to everyone and casted a really wide net, I would get more clients. And I was getting clients at first, but eventually my leads started to dry up. And I wasn't feeling very confident in my business. So that's when I knew that I needed to make a strategic change.
And how did you hear about the course?
I came on a webinar similar to this one that you were hosting, and the content, the things that you talked about really resonated with me, and I knew that I needed to make a change in my business, and that the program would help.
And so what happened as a result of the course?
So the course was a really big turning point for me. Because I realized before I started to do design full time, I had worked in public relations for 10 years. And I really wasn't focusing on any of that experience or that 10 years of expertise that I had built up. So I decided I would shift my business and solely focus on serving PR agencies and PR freelancers. So I finished up projects that didn't fit, with my new direction, and I started to really focus on PR agencies, and some started to come out of the woodwork looking to work with me because I had to find my niche. I changed my website, all of the content on my website and all of the graphics I changed. I changed all of my social media to focus on this audience of PR agencies and freelancers. And then I started to do some content marketing, which came up in one of the modules that you led, Rhonda. And I started a podcast, which I'm really excited about. And it focuses on, addressing some of the pain points that PR agencies and PR freelancers feel day to day. And so far, since launching my podcast, I've got 2 new clients that have come to me and said, "Oh, I heard about your podcast," and I started to work with them. I even went so far in doing the whole website revamp to even change my business name. I had a really generic business name before called Electric Paper, which doesn't really mean anything to anyone. And I changed it to Pitch Graphic Design, which really resonates much more with my PR audience who are always pitching media or pitching new clients.
So that's really amazing. So tell us how the needle moved.
So since I think maybe after finishing module 3 and really starting my content marketing, I started to see the needle move. When I started my business, I was working with 3 agencies, and now I'm up to 6, and my workload is much more consistent. I'm a lot more confident and happy with the work I'm doing because I'm leveraging years of all of my expertise from before. So I really feel like I'm bringing a lot of value to my clients. And then in terms of revenue, it's gone up. In my lowest month when I started, I was only making about $1,000 a month, and now it's increased to around $7,000 a month. So I've seen that needle move too, which is important.
Love it. What's your best advice for somebody considering the course or coming into the course?
So I think you touched on it during the webinar, and that it's like you need to really commit and see it through and do the work. Growing your business, takes a lot of work, and being on the group calls and doing the module work kind of helps you break down that process step by step. So you're not, taking it all on at once. You're moving through, it makes it a digestible amount of work to do. So really committing to the program and seeing it through and being on all the group calls. And I mean, like, I have a toddler now, and I did have to make time in my calendar to do it, but I'm seeing the results.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. We really appreciate it. And Kathy, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So, and that's an inspiring story from Leslie, because she, with a 1-year-old baby, that's hard to do. But Kathy also has a really inspiring story. Tell us about your headspace when you started the Business Development Breakthrough.
I feel really lucky to have found Rhonda. I'd actually heard her speak a little bit, I think, in a webinar, or it was an article I read about a year prior to actually contacting her. And I actually wrote down the 5 questions and had it on my bulletin board, but didn't really know what that was and hadn't paid attention to it, but I thought it was kind of cool. And during that year before contacting her, I'd gotten into kind of a bad space in my life and a bad space in my business. And by the time I reached out, I think it was at kind of a desperate, sad state of affairs. I had a lot of, negative thoughts, and things kind of weren't necessarily positive at all. And so I was kind of at the lowest low, and I'm like, well, I've got nothing left to go down farther. I'm going to give Rhonda and this program an opportunity. And so that's when I reached out.
And so what was the biggest benefit of the course?
Well, I think not only your expertise and that years of knowledge, but how you approach working with people. There's a no judgment zone, which is certainly much appreciative, because when you're at your lowest low, you're probably not feeling really good about yourself or anyone else. So that made it really nice. The other thing was just to meet everybody else on the call. And to hear that you weren't the only one kind of going through your certain circumstance. So that made you feel not as much of a loser as well.
So a big idea came out of all this for you. So tell everybody about that.
Yeah, what was really cool is, my approach or my process was something that I just had organically done for the last 20 some odd years. And as you and I kind of talked through, who I was as a company, where I wanted to go, that particular process seemed to reign true and be something that you're like, hey, this would be really cool to share with others and to kind of teach people how this works. And maybe this is something you could do a workshop or a series of classes on. And I hadn't even thought about it that way. And so by doing so, I've been able to, I taught my first workshop at the National Design Conference for AIGA, which is the American Institute of Graphic Arts, back in October in New Orleans. And since then, I've given a couple of online classes as well. And I've spoken at a few different places. And so that's turning into something that seems to be resonating with a lot of people, and people are really excited about it. And that's a new area of business I hadn't even considered and wouldn't have without working with you. So I'm very grateful, and this is pretty cool.
And I remember you emailing me after your workshop. You were excited out of your mind. So tell us about your mindset today compared to when you first started this journey.
Well, it is amazing. You helped me figure out that, a part of the negative space that I was in, I was partly to blame for that. That was something I was throwing out there into the universe. And so changing my mindset was a huge part of changing where I'm at today. which is really cool. And I know that that sounds all metaphysical and quirky a little bit, but it is very true. If you come from a place of authenticity and who you are, and what it is you put out in the world is what you get back. And so that alone helps, I think, drive where I'm at today. And today I'm not where I want to be yet, but I am vastly improved on where I was when I started. And the fact is that I can see where I want to go now, and I have a clear path and direction to follow. So that's really attributed to you helping me figure all of that out.
Thank you so much.
And thank you.
I'm like really excited about where you've come and how far you've come and where you're going. So thanks so much for sharing that. And what I wanted to say here is that we also work a lot on your mindset. It has everything to do with your success. So this is another question to ask yourself and be really honest. What's your mindset like today? Do you have a lot of negative thoughts rolling around in your head? Kathy really transformed her mindset, and the better she got, the better the business got, the more work she had. This course that she's developed came about. So lots of amazing things. And I'm going to give you a lot of these kind of tools in this course. We'll spend time on this and make sure you're in a positive mindset. Stick around for a few more minutes, because I'm going to do one of the exercises with you in a couple minutes. So also, here's a quick, I missed that slide. Here's a quick demo of the Online Learning Center. Oh, there.
This is what the Online Learning Center looks like. So over here is all the program modules. It starts with an orientation, and then there's clarity on your perfect client, marketing and making connections, closing the business, getting more work from the clients you have, and a graduation module. So we're in module 1 right now, clarity on your perfect client, and everything is here. I'll just scroll down a bit. All you have to do is follow the numbered instructions. Listen to the welcome message by Rhonda, click here to download the Visioning Action Guide, and so on. So it's all here. There's also some bonus resources, some inspirational audios, and some books that I recommend in each module. And I'll just uncheck these to show you how it works. But as you do each step, this is called the progress checklist. And as you do each step, for example, listen to the welcome message by Rhonda, and then I go over here. I have listened to the welcome message from Rhonda, and I just check it off. And once you've checked off each one, you're ready to progress to the next module. Up here it says you can now access the next module. So it's very straightforward, very user-friendly, and full of information that's extremely useful for you.
So that's the Online Learning Center. And you'll also become a lifetime member of our private Facebook community, where you'll get ideas and advice from people at different levels of experience from all over the world. You can post your new website, get feedback from the group, ask questions. It's a great, great community, very generous and supportive. So are you in? All the program details are at landthebusiness.com/program. So you can check that out for more details. We'll just quickly talk about the investment. I bet if I told you it's going to cost you $12 a day, you'd sign up right away, right? Here's the scoop. Just to give you a frame of reference, I do consulting work on all these topics, and my fees start at around $15,000. So if you want to talk to me about that, just contact me at rhonda@rhondapage.com. But this is not today's focus. The Business Development Breakthrough course gives you access to me and all the learning for $19.97. That's $1,997. The course starts August 18th. And to make it even better, we're putting it on special right now for $14.97. So it's a $500 savings. And the price of the course works out to $12 a day over 4 months, which is equal to your 2 Starbucks lattes. So you can cut your Starbucks lattes and join the program for $12 a day. Imagine more business, better clients, more money, and being part of a supportive community for $12 a day. And honestly, if you get one new client, it will well have paid for itself. So you can register right away and get a head start on Module 1 before we start the group classes on August 18th. The sooner you register, the sooner you can start to make changes. Katie Osborne was supposed to come on the call, but had a flight change, and her flight turned out to be during the call. But she asked me to read her story because it's also very inspiring. She did the course in 2014. And here's what she said. At this point, I had been in business for 5 years without much strategy behind the business development end of things. In 2015, I was getting ready to launch the business under a new name, but a 6-month delay in launching the website meant that I was very behind in my marketing, which resulted in a slowdown of incoming work during the first half of 2015. It was a very scary time. One of the biggest benefits of the course was learning a new way to do proposals. I was spending way too much time and not getting the work. When I started the course, my closing rate was 34%, and now it's 60%. It all started with the 5 questions that Rhonda is teaching today. These have been game changers for me as well. I also got clarity around how to promote my business and get the name out there. I realized that what I like is person-to-person connections. So I started networking at client-driven events and conferences. This recently translated into a webinar with 375 attendees. Other changes I've made, I created a strategy behind marketing my business. I hired a consultant to maintain a basic but consistent social media presence. I started writing for blogs and magazines that are published by others, and I started presenting at client-driven events, which recently included a 3-person panel discussion in the American Institute of Architects. And she's got a wayfinding firm, so that's her audience. So here's where Katie's business is now, and this is the most exciting part. I've had 500% growth from 2015 to the first half of 2016. I have fewer but bigger contracts, and I've increased my requirements for taking on projects. I've added 2 full-time designers, and I'm currently looking to hire a creative director. My goal now is to be able to focus my time on business development. So Katie said the best piece of advice is doing the work is the only way to make it work for you. If you're going to invest the money, then invest your time as well and show up to do the work and engage in the conversation. The takeaways from Rhonda, as well as the others in the group, were invaluable. So here's the link to register again, and there's a payment plan as well. After you register, you'll be sent to a page to set up your account and all the online stuff. Katie, Leslie, and Kathy are real action takers. They took what I gave them and ran with it. I love to reward the action takers. And I find that the people who take action have the most success. So I'll add this into the mix. When you register today, you're going to get the course for $14.97 plus a special bonus, my LinkedIn Maximizer, which includes a mini workbook to get you really clear on each part of your profile and a one-on-one consulting session with me, where we're going to strengthen your profile so you stand out and get noticed. We'll add the right keywords to get you found more often in searches, and we'll brainstorm lead generation ideas and ways to increase your exposure on LinkedIn. All business people today are using LinkedIn, and we need to make sure you stand out and get attention. I figured out how to use LinkedIn in amazing ways where I've had big exposure to 120,000 people. So this is the $1,000 value, and you're going to get it for free when you register for the Business Development Breakthrough today. So in summary, you'll have the tools to get more business more easily, have more fun in your business, and reach your financial goals. And all this will cost you $12 a day over the next 4 months. Other tools that you're going to get: my $1 Million Marketing Plan template, the meeting success script, the easy website planner, the get more work from the clients you have formula. So that's everything about the program. I've got one more big thing for you, and that's to start paying attention to your thoughts. What are your thoughts like these days? Now, when I first learned about this, it was over 10 years ago, and somebody suggested that I put a rubber band around my wrist and just pull at it gently, not hurt myself, but when I had negative thoughts. And guess what? It was happening all day. I was horrified at the amount of negative thoughts I was having, and it was no wonder I wasn't loving my life. So I put this rubber band around my wrist and started to pull at it gently. And, after a couple of weeks of this, things got better, and I was in a more positive space. And, this is a strategy that can help you break any bad habit. But 10 years later, my life's going great. I feel great. I'm doing well. I'm liking everything in my life. And it's really getting started in this direction made a huge difference for me. So I teach it to all my clients, and I'm giving this to you now. Also something that you could start to do today, right away. So get yourself a rubber band and start noticing what's going on, all that chatter in your head. And you don't even have to listen to it. You can start to train yourself to just let it go by and don't even go there. Don't buy into it. So I'm excited that you now have all these tools. So pre-qualifying prospects before meeting. And I want to, I'm going to end the slide part now and get on and answer all your questions so that you can leave here with anything that you need to know. And okay, here I am. So, Leslie, are you still there? I'm not sure what happened. I hope you didn't get disconnected. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the questions. Kathy, can you see the questions? Oh, you're on mute.
There, sorry.
There you are. I'm not sure where Leslie went, but do you mind reading some of these questions and then I'll answer them?
Do you want to go back all the way to the beginning, or let's
I mean, there's a couple of tech difficulties that were at the beginning.
Let's see. All right. How about this one? So much advice about getting prospects to contact you involves writing blogs and other articles to post on social media. Is that what you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about that in the course, starting to market yourself, because many service, especially creative services businesses, aren't marketing themselves at all, or they do the occasional. There are more occasional marketers. They send out their Christmas greeting at Christmas time, or their some promotion, but it really is slow going for people when they start marketing. So, I totally recommend this, and we talk about it in the program. And the idea is to try and not do too much, but pick something that's going to work for you, that you're going to enjoy doing. Like Leslie's was her podcast, and she was really excited about that. So, that just fits her personality. And so, it's all a matter, and we'll talk about the different options, and you'll hear about what's working for people and what they're enjoying.
The next one is, how can you learn what proposals win over others and why?
How can you learn what proposals win over others and why? I mean, that's a bit of a tricky one because often they won't tell you why you didn't win it. Some people are very persistent in finding out what the real story was and what happened. But I find that a lot of prospects, for some reason, don't feel comfortable to share that information. But again, I think the taking off the game face thing really helps here, where you can just be completely authentic and say, listen, this will really help me to grow and improve my business. If you could really just tell me what happened, I would really appreciate knowing. It's not, I won't feel bad, and, talking about it more authentically, trying to do that often helps.
What have you found to be the most effective way to pre-qualify a prospect?
Is the 5 questions, definitely. So if you get them on the phone, I mean, some people end up going to the meeting anyway, but then they ask the 5 questions at the meeting. But I suggest that you ask them before you even meet.
Let's see. I'm at a place where I'm thinking of rebranding. Will the program help me with naming and what kind of clients to focus on?
Yeah, I mean, Module 1 focuses specifically on your own brand and who your ideal client is and finding out the right messages to communicate with those clients. And yeah, a lot of people in the program have rebranded and completely relaunched everything. Like Leslie was saying, she decided to change. Once she decided to focus on the PR audience, then she realized that the name of her business wasn't really sounding right anymore, so she redid everything.
Is the business development course focused on people doing design-related work, or is it equally applicable to all fields?
It's applicable to serve pretty much any service-oriented business. The same principles apply. We have a lot of creative-oriented businesses in the agency world, in design firms, ad agencies, marketing companies, web development companies, PR firms. A lot of those kind of agencies are in the program.
Let's see. I get overwhelmed with all the social media content generation that seems to need to happen, plus the writing. I am a designer, I'm not a writer, and so much social media is about writing. How can you overcome that?
By getting help.
Exactly. Someone else to do it.
There's a lot of people out there that really like to do that stuff, and it doesn't necessarily have to cost a lot of money. So if you're trying to, it's like, again, like if you're in a negative headspace about it, like you hate it and it's taking too much time and it's annoying you and upsetting you, it's not going to work for you. So if you want to do that stuff, maybe look around for someone else to help. And we'll talk about more of those kinds of things in the program as well, how to find the right resources to support you and help you. And it doesn't have to be super expensive. And also, if you're spending time on stuff you don't like, it kind of brings a negative energy to your business as well.
How might I get past procrastination?
I guess the thing with procrastination is sort of looking at what's keeping you stuck, like sort of asking yourself, I guess, putting the question out there, how can I move past this and create something greater? And then just waiting for answers to come to you. But just keep asking, what else is possible for me? How can I create something greater? And focusing there instead of the self-deprecating, oh my God, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I procrastinating? Right, Kathy?
Yes, no kidding. Someone asked about the 5 questions because they came in late. Will they be able to get them from anywhere else?
Yeah, I'm gonna send out the recording.
Okay.
The recording of this video this afternoon.
Okay, that were all the ones that weren't answered. before. Do you want me to go through the ones that?
I think Leslie was typing the answers.
Right.
So I guess if that's everything for everybody, it says here 2 new messages. Thank you for a great webinar. Okay. For these interviews, here's somebody. For these interviews, which can be intimidating, is there a script and guidelines which help a lot? Yes, there is. I give you the script. I even give you the email template to send your clients that asks if you can interview them. And I give you the script, everything to ask them. And so it makes it easy. It's interesting because a lot of people are intimidated to do this, and there's a lot of fear around this. And you really find out a lot of great things about yourself that you didn't know, because I don't think anybody so far has found out something bad. Like, everybody's afraid they're going to find out something bad when they do these interviews. And they usually come back and say, oh my God, they love me. I'm so excited. This has just been a game changer for me. And I got so many great ideas. So it's a cool process. And yeah, I give you everything you need. And then we discuss it on the group calls. So if you're scared, or if you're, having trepidations about it, you can ask other people in the group, and they're going to tell you what worked for them and what helped them and what their experiences were. So I give you a lot of support in that, but it's a very, very valuable exercise to go through. In Module 1, there are a lot of one of the actions is stakeholder interviews. Can you talk to past current clients? One idea would be to ask them why they wanted to work with you, find out what worked, etc., what didn't work. So somebody wrote that in. But yeah, you want to find out, Leslie wrote that in. You want to find out, one of the questions is what worked well for you, what hasn't worked for you, and those sorts of things. Requesting a recap of projects, initiating continued interest, probing for considerable deadlines. Okay, I'm not sure what I'm reading here. What do you suggest would be successful when you are in the initiator for a first meeting and have not been approached by a prospect? You're introduced yourself to them, so you wouldn't be showing your work if you're an artist or designer. How would you suggest following up if you don't know if there's a project in the offering? This is a bit of a tricky one too, because if there's no project in the offering, I don't know, some people like to just go and do these introductory meetings and say hello. And, that sometimes works, but sometimes when there's not a project in the offering, it ends up, I don't know if it's a waste of time, because if you make a big impression, but you may just go on a fact finding. The main thing is to try and find out what's going on for them, not just go in and show your work. So if you're going to do those kind of meetings, go with the intention of finding out what's really going on in that business. And you might be able to make a project for yourself by just asking a lot of the right kinds of questions. Thank you for this webinar. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you. It's been helpful. I don't know if there's any more questions here. A lot of people have had to leave or consider. So I think that's all the questions. For new business that doesn't reach out to you, but you were looking to reach out to them, are there questions or approaches before the 5 questions? Well, I'm going to talk about that in the course, because I don't find the cold calling works at all, reaching out. Sometimes through social media, reaching out works well. There's certain strategies on LinkedIn that work well. And again, the marketing, we want to get you on their radar and that you're sort of in front of them on a regular basis, so that then when something comes up for them, when there's a project, and this is what's working for everybody, then when there's a project, they'll be like, oh, okay, we've been watching these guys. We've been watching this firm. We got to call them for sure now. And that's definitely happening, especially with the boutique hotel people that I told you about earlier. In the course, how can I check if your group meetings will fit into my schedule or how I'll need to move things around? That's an easy one. The meetings are all on Thursdays, and they're at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central, 9:30 Mountain, and 8:30 Pacific. I've got all my time zones correct. And it's on Zoom, but it's in a format similar to this, but we can all see each other and have discussions. So, and then they're all recorded as well in case you missed one. How do you deal with ageism? You know, I don't even pay attention to that because I think it's all more your state of mind. Like if you think you're too old, then you'll project that energy to other people. I mean, I really don't believe that that should be something to stop you in your tracks. I really think, again, it's about focusing on your own mindset and what your beliefs are about yourself. Oh, there's more questions coming in. I live in Asia and freelancing for clients in the US and Asia. Asian are very open about price negotiation, so I always stated that I'm open for price negotiation, but I feel that prospects from the US do not like to negotiate price since very few of them reply to my email. Is this true? If not, how to lead them to come back and negotiate if my proposal was too expensive? That's a good one. I guess it's not really negotiations. I think that, you know, you can change your price. I think you don't want to do the same amount of work for a less price in most cases. There's always exceptions, but I think you want to change the scope of the work. If they need a lower price, then I think the best thing to do is change the scope of the work and then you can perhaps do it for a less price. You know, like for me, if it was stakeholder interviews and I said, I recommend 10, and they said, well, we don't quite have the budget for that, I might say, well, let's do 5 instead. And so see how we can change the scope to accommodate their budget. But I wouldn't just start negotiating, chopping off budget. That's where you shortchange yourself, like I talked about at the beginning. I think that's everything. Anything further from you, Kathy? Oh, here's one more.
Sorry, dogs were running around. No, looks like it's good to me.
Okay. Can payment for the program be made in increments for those of us considering, so we don't miss out? Yeah, there's, if you go to landthebusiness.com/program, there's a payment plan. Here, I'll type it in here.